Hi.
Good morning.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Look at this.
I know, it fixed.
There is no longer Bill Profita and a Band-Aid. Although I did like the Band-Aid.
We can see your whole name.
Well, no, you can't. He's blocking some of
With
it.
Bill Profita and the Band-Aid. My mother saw the show and she said, "Is your name Band-Aid now?" I said, "No, these things take a while."
We weren't clever enough to do that.
And I had explained to my mom that, this is what they call a mosaic monitor, and when you lose a panel in the mosaic, it's not as simple as going down to Best Buy and getting a new TV. You've got to get one that's made to go into a mosaic display.
Did you also explain to your mother that Marty did it?
Yeah, I told Mom it's all Marty's fault.
Marty touches something,
It's
it breaks.
all Marty's fault. So Marty has been ordered to stay away from.
I tried to follow him into Albertsons the other day, and the automatic door opener wouldn't work after he went through it.
No, we're glad to. We want to thank Alan and Bert for getting the thing all fixed up so that
and
it
looks
Clarence and Coach Kador and Jonathan for the Tigers Roar and all the other great programs have a complete display behind them.
Display. We start the new year, and this always happens with some kind of sad news. For those of you that remember the British invasion, one of the big groups of the British invasion, Jerry and the Pacemakers.
So ferry cross the Mersey.
Two fabulous ballads that both went to #1, in addition to their other tunes, Ferry Cross the Mersey and Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying, which got revived in a movie in the late 1990s and basically started climbing the charts again.
Yeah, it was a great song, Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying.
Jerry Marsden died at the age of 78. He had not been ill. He was still performing.
They do This Magic Moment, a version of This Magic Moment as well. Yeah.
They also did what started them was they did some covers of Broadway shows that were good, amenable to having a rock influence.
Turn it into a pop tune.
Yeah, but he just kind of went to bed and woke up dead. He had a quick cardiac episode, is what they said, and did not survive it. But he was a wonderful tunesmith. He really was.
Jerry Marsden. Who else did we lose over the holiday? Dawn Wells.
Dawn Wells.
Marianne from Gilligan's Island.
Marianne.
I mean, for the longest time in America, when you were asking a guy what kind of a guy is he as far as what kind of woman flips his switch, you could say, are you a Marianne or are you a Ginger? Which are you? And some guys would be like, oh, Ginger all the way.
No, I was up for Marianne.
I was, those big brown eyes, man. Oof. I married a girl named Marianne, as a matter of fact. But such a crush I had on Dawn Wells back in the day.
What I didn't know is, after Gilligan's Island, everybody thought she went away and sat on her money. And I do remember back in the 90s when she invented some hospital patient garb that made it easier for doctors to examine the patients because it unbuttoned in different sections and things like that. I didn't know this until they started talking about her over the weekend, that she was a prolific Broadway performer up until about 4 years ago, when just hoofing it across the stage when you're in your 80s just wasn't for her anymore.
And let me also suggest, if you want to go digging for obscure films, look for a film called Winter Hawk, which is it's kind of a Western. It's set back in those days when there were parts of the USA that were still wild and untamed, and Dawn Wells is in it in a dramatic role. And this is about an Indian warrior, a Native American warrior, I beg your pardon, and how he helps a family make it through a very difficult part of their journey westward. And Dawn Wells in a serious dramatic role. And that was only a few years after Gilligan's Island wrapped up, so she was hot.
Terrific actress.
Yes, she was. And remember when she got busted for smoking pot?
Yeah, I remember that.
And she was very unapologetic.
Yeah, what? Yes, so? It's not like I'm selling it. And another one, Tanya Roberts.
That one's a surprise to me, Bill.
Yeah, she was only 65. Tanya Roberts, who was in the second cast of Charlie's Angels in the 70s, and then was a Bond girl in A View to a Kill.
View to a Kill.
And then was Midge Pinciotti on the hit series That 70s Show. She was Donna's mom.
She was Donna's mom, who several of the boys had a difficult time taking their eyes off of. And what I liked about that show was the way that sometimes the camera was like Eric's or Kelso's point of view.
Yes.
And so you'd see Mrs. Pincinotti on the screen, and the camera would be on that chestic area.
Yes. Yeah. Tanya was a very, very beautiful woman, and you could actually dress her as they did in A View to a Kill, to where you were really, there wasn't too much left to the imagination.
Yeah, but she was sadly maybe not the greatest actress on the planet.
Not the greatest.
That kind of held her back. She certainly had the looks, but you have to have some talent to go along with those looks sometimes.
Yeah, not the worst, but not the greatest.
God rest her, does it give any reason? 65 is awfully young.
She was walking her dogs, and she collapsed. They called EMS. They took her to Cedars-Sinai, and after a couple of days in ICU, she passed away. So they did say...
I'm going to blame COVID-19.
They did say it is not COVID-related.
No.
They said that.
There's one that wasn't COVID-related.
But you know, you get into your 60s, and occasionally the old ticker just stops.
Yep.
Ask me about it, I know.
Time for us to take our first break of the hour. We're going to do that. And later this hour, we're going to check in once again with state police. We talked about being careful over the New Year's holiday. How careful were we? We'll get a report coming up later in the show.
We're going to name names.
Exiles, be back in a moment.
Taste the feeling.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Welcome back to Exiles TV. So, some things that happened with the beginning of the new year. Mayor Sharon Weston Broom was sworn in for another term in office. New members of the Baton Rouge Metro Council have taken office, and the Baton Rouge Metro Council had a... is anything they do without controversy?
Not anymore.
But they had a controversial election to elect a new mayor pro tem and head of the council, which had to be marred by someone making accusations of the big R word.
Well, you know, both Councilman Dwight Hudson, who was reelected to a second term,
yes,
and Councilman Lamont Cole, who was reelected to a second term, both expressed interest in being the pro tem. Now, the pro tem fills in for the mayor. If the mayor is ill, out of town, incapacitated, it very rarely happens. But the pro tem also is in charge of the council meetings and will determine how much time someone gets to speak during public meeting, may cut someone off if they are off topic, something that Scott Wilson did a great deal of, by the way, when people would try to use that public forum to go to another place.
And by the way, you can probably look forward to people going to another place in the public forum.
So anyway, it is an election right after they're all sworn in on the day that they take office for the first time or the second time or the third time. And before this, another council member, Shauna Banks, wrote apparently to all the council members saying they should not vote for Dwight Hudson because he is, and I'm quoting, a bona fide racist. This is a Facebook post, excuse me, not a personal letter. She wrote that Dwight Hudson has shown himself to be prejudiced against minorities and said that anyone who supports him to lead the council is either a novice or shares his harmful and divisive views.
What does she cite as evidence that Dwight Hudson is prejudiced against minorities?
Well, one of the things that she cites is that he has voted against measures that are brought before the council and sponsored by black members of the council.
Did she consider for a moment that maybe they were stupid ideas and that's why he voted against them?
Well, or did she consider that perhaps the ideas that they put forward did not match the views of his constituents? Perhaps it was more of a Democrat-Republican thing.
Well, that's true enough. He's in a very conservative district of the parish.
She said Hudson had a history of being disrespectful, negative, and obstinate toward black female council members, and said he's frequently dismissive.
Are we talking about the same Dwight Hudson?
Said he's frequently dismissive of non-white business developers doing work in his district.
I'd ask her to show some proof of that.
She also cited Hudson's opposition to her proposal to require Metro Council members to participate in a quote-unquote dialogue on race. The popular series of seminars facilitates discussions on institutional racism between citizens.
Okay.
He voted against the item.
So that makes him a racist. He disagrees with her, and she's black, so he's a racist.
Yeah, he voted against the item.
Okay.
Said he didn't want it to be overlooked, but the council needed to have conversations around race in person, is what he said.
Okay.
Now, for his part, Councilman Hudson says, no.
Excuse me.
He says,
sorry.
Yeah.
Couldn't help it.
The statement is extreme, and he said that creating false narratives about one another is divisive and counterproductive. It's the opposite of the unity that we should all be strived for, and I will not participate in it. And he has been as good as his word. He hasn't been saying, well, I voted for this one, I voted against that one. You know, and I just, is this what we are going to have continually?
Yes. Yes, Bill, it is. This is what we're going to have from here on out. From here on out. If you disagree with certain people, then you will be accused of terrible things simply because you disagree with them.
Well, this is not going to get us down the road.
No.
In
This
fact,
is what has happened in Baltimore, in Buffalo, New York, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in major cities, Jackson, Mississippi. This has happened in cities all across America where identity politics takes over, and if you disagree with identity politics, then you are racist.
well, again, going back to this story, Lamont Cole, who is a Democrat, did win the election, and he won it with some Republican votes. Mm-hmm. Which tells me all of this name-calling was not necessary, that he probably would have won the election to be pro tem anyway.
No, but if you perceive a threat, you seek to destroy the threat before you have to go in and get the votes.
Well,
and that's exactly what Ms. Banks did. Shame on her.
A brand new council member, Carolyn Coleman, she is a Democrat. She is also African-American. She was elected to represent District 10. Obviously, this was off-putting to her. And this is a quote. I really had hoped that we could have begun 2021 a bit differently. on a lighter note, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel bad for incoming council members. It's like, what have I gotten myself into? What have I gotten myself into? Because I don't see any improvement. Like I said, is there anything the council does now that isn't controversial? Well,
I will tell you, I witnessed one council meeting in February of last year. So it's been almost a year. Scott Wilson, the pro tem, was ill. Donna Collins Lewis was the vice pro tem. She, of course, is no longer on the council. She termed out. And she was chairing the meeting. There was a motion on the floor. It had been seconded. And she was allowing other discussion. And Dwight Hudson said, "Pardon me, Ms. Lewis, we have a motion on the floor." And she said, "You will address me as pro tem, Lewis." And then Shauna Banks started jumping on, going, "You do this all the time. You're a racist. You call names." It was the most ridiculous, pathetic piece of theater I have ever seen in my life.
He called her Ms. Lewis.
Well, he didn't call her Ms. Pro Tem.
Okay. But she's not. She was merely filling in.
Well, when you're sitting in the chair, you're the pro tem. I get that.
All right.
But you know what? You all work together. You're a council. You're 12 people. I think you could call each other Mr. or Miss.
Can I just offer this up into the conversation? What they all are, and few of them are acting like, is adults. You know, this is the part of the problem we have with the Metro Council in Baton Rouge. It's a governing body of the most populous parish in the state, and often they descend into childlike behavior. They just can't get along.
Well, let me tell you what. I think we have a lot of this, maybe not with the new House and Senate in Louisiana, but I think with the old House and Senate, I think we had a lot of this.
Yes, sir, we did.
Where it was all about, you don't look like me, so I'm not going to support you. Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to call you a name for doing that. What I think people need to realize is there are different agendas, whether we like it or not, that have come to the fore based strictly on people's views of race relations. So you're going to have to deal with that, and you might as well deal with it in a professional, courteous manner.
Like adults.
Yeah.
Like adults. Ready for another break?
Yes.
Let's do that then. Take care of some business. Taylor Scrantz from State Police joins us. How did we do? How safe was our holiday weekend in the greater Baton Rouge area? We're going to check next on Exiles TV.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Cantea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Cantea, your Italian dining will change forever.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Surprise, something good has finally happened in 2020. Yours truly, the Clarence Bugg Show, gets to be with you every day of the week. That's right, 11 to 12 every weekday. And of course, the Exiles right in front of yours truly from 10 to 11, yours truly 11 to 12. So now it's appointment viewing. 5 days a week here on the Pelican. The Clarence Bugg Show. The only thing missing is you.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
You could be driving.
Right now, during the Team Honda Upgrade event, get a new 20 Accord Sport for just $309 a month with no money down, no first payment, and no security deposit. It's time to upgrade to your new Honda at Louisiana's #1 new car dealer, Team Honda on Segan Lane.
Welcome back to Exiles TV. Glad to have you along with us this morning. And right before we took our little break for the New Year's holiday, we had the gentleman who's in the center chair, Trooper First Class Taylor Scrantz, who is Public Information Officer with Louisiana State Police. He is assigned to the Troop A area to talk about what to worry about, what to be aware of, and increased enforcement over the holiday weekend. And it occurred to me that we never ever do the follow-up. We never ever say, how did we do? And as it turns out, people are kind of getting the message statewide. We did a little better than you might expect. Trooper Scrantz, glad to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having me, gentlemen.
Let's start in our immediate area in Troop A. Did we have more fatal accidents, less fatal accidents?
Significantly less. We had 0 fatal accidents in the Troop A area.
None.
0. So we were very pleased with those numbers. Obviously, we did have 6 fatal crashes statewide, and that resulted in 7 fatalities, and 4 of those fatalities were unrestrained.
Wow.
We talked about this a lot, people not wearing their belts.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That over half of those people were unrestrained, may have survived the crash if they were properly restrained.
What about DWI just in Troop A here?
So in Troop A alone, for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we had 16 people arrested for DWI. From last year, that seems to be significantly lower, and we're also pleased with that as well.
Now, it doesn't surprise me to hear that DWIs were significantly lower for the New Year's holiday because there was no place to go.
Right.
So probably a lot less driving in general, but still good news because every time I think of a fatal, well, let's take the six fatals you had. How many are expected to be alcohol related?
So every fatality crash, we have a drug analysis and alcohol analysis that we perform, and once those come back from Louisiana State Police Crime Lab, we update as a supplemental part of the report. But some of the ones I've read, we don't suspect alcohol to be related on any of those, but that could change, you know.
Well, maybe we're finally getting the message, and you know, we're just drinking less while we get behind the wheel.
But you know, it was interesting. Like a lot of people, I had to do some last-minute shopping in the middle of the day on New Year's Eve, and the alcohol reps were in the supermarket that I went to, Rouse's, and they were restocking shelves in their jeans and all that. They weren't in their work clothes. Because booze was flying off the shelves so quickly. So it's not like people weren't drinking. It sure looked like they were preparing to be drinking, but apparently they just didn't drive.
Right, and hopefully, you know, people are starting to get the message that when you do drive while impaired and are unrestrained and you crash, you know, that's a recipe for a fatality crash. And we're just very pleased with the numbers. You know, we did have an increased focus in the Troop A area as well as statewide on impaired driving, and it seems to have paid dividends.
Let's talk about statewide. We're heard and seen in the lower half of the state. So statewide, how did we do in terms of fatal crashes?
So statewide, we had 6 fatality crashes that resulted in 7 fatalities. And as far as DWI arrest goes, we had 53 people arrested New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for DWI.
And is that up, down, neutral? How is that?
That seems to be about neutral from last year statewide. I'd have to pull the stats for you to give you exact number on that.
Now, one thing as I understand here in the capital region that's up is speeding. that you all are catching a lot more people flagrantly violating the speed limit.
Yes, sir. Specifically on the I-10 corridor at Highland Road, where we just had the expansion. One weekend we stopped 54 people in excess of 100 miles per hour.
54 people?
Yes, sir, in 2 days.
Well, they think it's the Audubon or something. They just hammer down. I don't understand that, because the faster I go, the more I think one little thing, one little misstep, and it could be fatal. On Christmas Eve, Marianne and I were headed north to see family, and we were on I-110, and a Volvo passes us, and not really hammered down, but probably doing 70 on I-110, and just one wheel. He probably took his eye off the road for a second, but one wheel hits that little curb, because he's in the far left lane on an elevated highway. Next thing we know, this guy is careening across the interstate in front of us. 2 other lanes of traffic trying to, not hit him. He almost rolled over, came back to a rest on 4 wheels, 2 wheels flat. You could see that in the rear view mirror as we drove by. And we were just happy to not have been involved in a crash. Just one little thing sent that guy almost in a rollover accident.
We talk about that. If your crashes that are killing people or injuring people are coming back not alcohol related, then I think you have to assume that they're speed related, or there's some other reason that people are doing something they shouldn't be doing, like looking at their cell phone and getting into another lane.
Correct. So when you're involved in a crash, that crash is preventable, and that's why it's called a crash, not an accident. So you did something to deviate your attention from the roadway, or if you're not impaired, or if you're not speeding, something deviated your attention from the roadway that resulted into your crash. If you're doing everything correctly, you're not going to crash. If you're going the speed limit, being cognizant of your surroundings, your chances of crashing are significantly lower, unless it's just a random act of God.
In your experience as a trooper who has worked the road, how much collateral damage is there in a speed-related accident? In other words, Kevin and I are driving to do something together. We're doing the speed limit. We're in the proper lane. We're trying to watch what we're doing. And this guy or woman comes like crazy from behind us. We got no place to go. And hits the car in the lane because he can't pass properly, and things start coming unglued. Just in your personal experience, how much collateral damage happens in a speed-related accident?
Yes, sir. So in my personal experience, it always seemed to be the innocent person who was doing everything correctly to be the ones to get killed, and the one that was doing something incorrectly, whether they were speeding or drinking and driving, they seem to be always the one who survived. And that's very unfortunate. You don't want anybody to be involved in a fatality crash, but to also have to live with that guilt of killing somebody that was doing everything correctly.
Yeah.
That's kind of startling, if you think about it.
So you're saying it seems to be a trend that more often than not, the guilty party is the one who survives the crash.
Yes, sir.
That seems to be, that's terrible.
Yeah, and a lot of times you don't read about the single vehicle crash with the impaired driver. The ones that make the news are ordinarily the ones where someone is doing everything correctly and is killed, but we do see our fair amount of single vehicle fatality crashes due to impairment as well. And another thing I want to remind your viewership is that we do have unmarked chargers on I-10, and we're also going to be looking for excessive speeders with those vehicles. So we're using our marked vehicles as well as our unmarked vehicles to catch these egregious speeders.
How does it work when you're out there? Can you grab somebody while you're rolling? Can you work your forward-facing and rearward-facing radar?
Yes, sir.
In that unmarked car? And
yes,
there it is.
Yes, sir.
89.
It goes both ways, rear and forward-facing, and they can be moving or stationary.
So if you pass one of these troopers and you're over the speed limit, you're going to get it.
Yes, they'll know. They'll normally use their front antenna for that, but yes, sir, they'll know.
Now, the normal thing most of us believe, and I believe it's a myth, is that state police in any jurisdiction are going to give you about 8 miles an hour over before they light you up. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, by the letter of the law, if you're going 1 mile per hour over the speed limit, technically you're in violation of the law. But as far as...
Can I testify?
Yes.
The last speeding ticket I got was for 67 in a 65. And it was Louisiana State Police, so I'm telling you, they don't give you a margin of error.
That was in Troop A?
No, I actually was on the other side of the state at the time.
All right, yes, sir.
Troop L.
Troop L, okay, all right. Yeah, I have never written a ticket for going simply 2 miles per hour over. Ordinarily, I'd be gracious and give 15.
But how much But I mean, how much is the traffic conditions as well?
Right.
You know, if it might be a 60-mile-an-hour road, but if traffic is generally doing about 53, 54 because it's congested, and somebody comes roaring through at 64, 65, and they're weaving in and out, is that going to get your attention to the point where you're going to want to take them off to the side of the road and at least have a conversation with
Right.
them?
You know, you can use your discretion as a law enforcement officer and, you know, the totality of the circumstances to decide whether you're going to write them a ticket or not, but certainly they can stop the vehicle and have a conversation with the driver about what they're doing is unsafe.
Well, and I do think we're getting a little better in Louisiana, but I still see a lot of people on the road, and it also seems to be not just high-performance cars, but some of these big high-performance trucks, you know, these pickup trucks that never get any dirt in their bed, but they've got, 600 horsepower under the hood.
Yes, sir.
These things are hauling ass.
Yes, sir. We definitely see them going in excessive speeds. You know, a lot of people have these souped-up vehicles and things of that nature, but, even if you don't have a souped-up vehicle, a lot of the times those individuals speed as well. We see a lot of the speeders early on in the morning, people running late for work and things of that nature. But if you get stopped by a trooper or another law enforcement agency, you're going to be just as late as you were going the speed limit.
The Chargers you guys drive, and
Yes,
women, I imagine they're about 3,500 pounds, somewhere
Roughly.
around there?
Yes, sir.
And you've got special brakes, special suspension, but if you're going 90 chasing somebody, how far does it take you to stop if you need to stop on one of those?
There's a calculation with that measures the speed, your perception time, and everything like that. But ordinarily, you could probably say in excess of 100-yard football field.
All right, 300 feet.
Yes, sir.
Now, if somebody's in one of these maxed out, and I'm not picking on any brand, but I think this one's the prettiest, the Ford Super Duty, Platinum Edition, extra cab, that thing weighs probably closer to 5,000 pounds. And if he's doing 90, and somebody pulls out in front of him, in a Honda Fit, which he's going to crush like a beer can, he can't stop in 300 feet, can he?
No, sir. And if you think about the force that the impact will have on that person, as well as the other person driving the vehicle, just do the speed times or acceleration times the weight, and that's a lot of pressure on a human body, and our bodies can't sustain that amount of pressure and survive.
If you don't mind, we're going to keep you for a few more minutes after this break, and I want to talk about all the things that are available to make us a little safer and a little better, such as the baby seat program. And I know you all do driving classes and things like that. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we come back. Trooper First Class Taylor Scrantz is with Louisiana State Police. He is a public information officer in this troop, his current billet. And we're glad to have him with us. Why don't you stick around? We're glad to have you with us too when we continue.
Surprise, something good has finally happened in 2020. Yours truly, the Clarence Bugg Show, gets to be with you every day of the week. That's right, 11 to 12 every weekday. And of course, the Exiles right in front of yours truly from 10 to 11, yours truly 11 to 12. So now it's appointment viewing. 5 days a week here on the Pelican. The Clarence Bugg Show. The only thing missing is you.
Balello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Balello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
and Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Hey, welcome back, Exiles TV. We're talking about holiday safety. How did we do? Looks like we did pretty good. Trooper First Class Taylor Scrantz with the Louisiana State Police is our guest. We had no fatalities during the holiday period in the greater Baton Rouge area in Troop A, which is really good. I don't think that we've...
Big news.
That's, yeah, but tragically on a statewide basis, there were 6 fatal accidents that resulted in the loss of 7 lives.
And during the break, we were talking about something, and we were talking about people with hot cars and you know, flying around, and a lot of these cars, I notice, have extremely dark windows. Like, I can't see through them. And I know we have a tint law in Louisiana, and I know that law enforcement thinks it's very, very dangerous to have heavily tinted windows. So how can you tell, and what do you do about it?
So ordinarily, when you're driving down the road, anybody can see when a window is tinted darkly. You know, that gives us probable cause to stop the vehicle, and what we use is a tint meter, and that measures your tint on your front window as well as your rear windows. On a passenger car, 40% on the front 2 windows and 25% tint on the back 2 windows. Mm-hmm. And as far as a pickup truck or a SUV goes, it's 40% on the front windows, and you can go as dark as you want on the back.
Now, is it illegal for all these shops that do custom work for vehicles, is it illegal for them to put tint that's greater than that on the windows, and they do it anyway?
Well, you know, a lot of people have tint exemptions, you know, to maybe an eyesight problem or a medical issue. Now, as far as that being illegal, I'd have to get back with you on that one. I'm not sure if we actually have a state statute on being illegal to tint somebody's vehicle, because nothing's going to say they're going to bring that on the road. They may be doing it for a car show or something like that.
Mm-hmm. If I can't see, if Kevin gets here before I do and I walk up to his car and I can't see, does that necessarily mean that the window is too darkly tinted?
Well, ordinarily, yes, sir, but we use a tint meter to confirm that. You know, we're not going to write somebody a tint ticket solely based on we think it's too dark. We're going to go by the letter of the law, use the tint meter, measure the percent, and it will tell us the exact percent using the tint meter.
What about highly reflective? I mean, there is tint out there that basically turns your car windows into mirrors. And it's not so much that it's dark, it's reflective and you can't see in.
Right.
Is that illegal as well?
Well, if it's past the 40%, it would be, yes, sir. Now, as far as the reflective portion, you know, we, as a law enforcement officer, when we stop a vehicle and we can't see inside the vehicle, it becomes an officer safety issue. Mm-hmm. So that's why more times than not, we ask the drivers to exit the vehicle, and that way we can have an interview on the side of the road rather with them inside the vehicle.
If someone does get a tint ticket, as you called it, they obviously have to either go to court and contest it, or they have to pay it, but do they also have to prove that they've remediated the vehicle? They do. So when we write a citation, one is the actual criminal or the traffic charge, which is 32361.1, if you want to look it up and investigate it further. And secondly, we give a violation ticket, and you have to come back to the troop and show that you're in compliance now, that your tint has been removed from the vehicle. So if you just spend all this money to get your windows tinted and they're too dark, you got to go spend more money to get it taken off. Right. Or do it yourself using a razor blade. I've seen a lot of people do that. Yeah. Wow. Not worth it, folks. All right, let's talk about how we can become better drivers. And you talked about this last week. I think it's something we should talk about all the time. If you've got a child that needs to be in a safety seat, it needs to be properly installed and it needs to be inspected, and these guys will do it for free.
Yes, sir. So every Tuesday at Troop A, we do it from 1 to 4 p.m. And walk-ins are welcome. We prefer that you make an appointment online so we can know who's coming in and when they're coming in, especially in the COVID environment. Also, please bring a mask when you come to Troop A. That way, you know, we minimize the risk of spreading COVID-19. However, we're still doing it, and we do that at every single troop within the state, at least 1 day a week.
I never realized this. Years ago, we participated in a car seat drive for you know, needy people. And I never realized that a lot of people hand down their car seats. You know, my little Sally doesn't need a car seat anymore, but here, take hers and use it for your little Susie. And y'all inspect them. Y'all just don't put them in.
Correct. They have to be safely installed, and they have to be up to date on the safety precautions, and also has to meet the height and weight requirements of the child. We can't just give a 6-year-old who weighs 80 pounds infant seat. You know, it has to meet the height and weight requirements that the manufacturer prescribes.
Plus, safety specs change from year to year to year too. I mean, they revise them.
Yes.
So if I've been handed down a car seat from, you know, somebody that had a kid 15 years ago, it may not be in compliance. Period.
Correct. A lot of those seats get recalled and they need to be updated. And that's what we use the manufacturer's instructions for, and that's why we encourage you to come see a technician so we can advise you correctly if your seat's safe or not for your child.
Do we need to, if I run a car well over 100,000 miles. I try to keep them up to date, and I run a car. But I have noticed on some cars as they're getting a little older, I'm having hitches in my seat belt. Does our restraint system need to be inspected from time to time?
Well, that's on an individual basis. I think that if on my truck in particular, I have a older model truck as well, and I know there's a recall on the seatbelt, and I just brought it into my local dealer and they fixed it for me. So I'm sure that's an individual basis kind of deal, but I wouldn't be sure on that one.
Well, but there isn't any routine inspection that you or anybody else does as far as you know of?
No, so as far as when we're installing a car seat, when you pull all the slack out of the seatbelt, it should hit a block, and that's called the retractor, and then it kind of winches the seatbelt out, and you shouldn't have any slack in that. So if your retractor's broke, we definitely encourage you to fix that.
Taylor, there's one thing I wanted to ask you while we had you here it's in general knowledge. I worked for a while with a statewide radio news agency, and it seemed like while I was a radio news reporter, every week there was a big drug bust on the interstate system, whether it be 10, 20, 12. Are we still, as far as we know, are we still major drug corridors, or has that slowed down any? Has law enforcement managed to make any inroads with that?
Yes, sir. So we do have troopers specifically dedicated to interstate drug travel, and they make stops and they locate suspected vehicles with drugs in them. Actually, this morning we made a stop and our CPU team netted 1 pound of methamphetamine on I-10 in West Baton Rouge. So yes, sir, we're still actively patrolling the interstates for drug trafficking.
So are you looking for driver behavior, or do you get tipped in a lot of cases that the vehicle may be carrying?
So we coordinate with other agencies, but we also use this driver behavior, traffic violations, and then once you do a roadside interview and they suspect criminal activity, sometimes they'll request for consent to search, and if that's denied, we use a drug dog or canine unit, and that's how we render those arrests.
Okay. I remember when I was a reporter, they would say improper lane usage, and that to me means I didn't use my turn signal.
So improper lane usage would be if you cross the white dash line. So, or you hit the shoulder of the interstate, you know, the striping on the interstate.
So if you drift.
Right, if your tires hit it, you're weaving. You know, a lot of times I see in probable cause affidavits, you know, the driver struck the fog line on 6 separate occasions. So that driver needs to be interviewed and see why he's not staying in his lane of travel.
Gotcha. And that quite often leads to some irregularity in their story, and next thing you know, you're finding contraband.
Correct, you do. And a lot of times we see that with impaired drivers. You know, they're so focused on going the speed limit, they can't keep the vehicle within their lane of travel, or they're going so fast they can't keep the vehicle in the lane of travel as well.
Wow.
Is there any place that people don't try to hide contraband? I mean, I've heard that, you know, the state police stopped them, they disassembled the front bumper assembly, and boop, there it was. Or they looked inside the spare tire and there wasn't air in the spare tire, there was drugs.
Inside the rear doors.
Is there any place you all won't look?
No, sir. Everything could be a hidden compartment, and we use our training and experience to locate those hidden compartments, because, you know, whenever they're trying to traffic drugs, obviously they're not just going to leave it on the rear seat. They're going to keep it well hidden.
I mean, you're sitting there on the side of the road, the dog has hit. I mean, do you look at him and say, look, do you really want us to take your car apart bolt by bolt, or you just want to tell us now?
Yeah. Ordinarily, they want you to take the car apart, so see if you can find it or not. Yeah. Not too many people I've seen where they'll just tell you exactly where it's at.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they're caught already.
Well, I guess they want a fighting chance. So.
They're not caught till the hands are red, buddy. That's what they're thinking.
Something else that falls in the hands of state police, and this just popped up on the news.
That's not mine.
Is the Amber
I don't know
Alerts.
how that got there.
It's not mine. I borrowed the car from my mother-in-law. Yeah, I'd get her in trouble. But Amber Alerts, and I guess we call them silver alerts when it's somebody that's older and may have mental impairment due to age. Today you issued an endangered missing child alert for an 11-year-old. Can you kind of explain the difference between that and an Amber Alert, and how long these stay up?
Yes, sir. So ordinarily they'll stay up. First, we're contacted by the local agency, and if it meets the criteria, we'll issue either a level 2 danger alert or an Amber Alert. It has to meet a certain criteria by the letter of the law of issuing an Amber Alert, and it stays up as long as the child is missing. Once the child has been located, we take it down.
And when you say an endangered child, this doesn't necessarily mean an abduction by a stranger. This could be parents that are having a custody dispute, something like that.
Yes, sir, it could be, or the child may have just ran away and we don't know where they're currently at. It doesn't necessarily mean they're an immediate threat of danger. This obviously, in this particular case, is an 11-year-old girl and we can't locate her at this point in time.
It must be a very, very difficult thing to mobilize to look for an 11-year-old that's got to be like a needle in a haystack unless you've got some good information you can work with.
Right, and the more information the better. If we have a vehicle making description, if they're in a possible vehicle, the last item of clothing they were wearing, ordinary routines that they have, to try to locate them. But yeah, like you said, it is kind of trying to find a needle in a haystack when they're missing like this.
Well, we wish you luck on this 11-year-old that apparently just went missing, because this just popped up on my screen.
Yeah, I just saw it earlier this morning.
But we do appreciate everything you all do, and we appreciate your time, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having us on again this morning.
Trooper First Class Taylor Scrantz from Louisiana State Police Troop A, Public Information Officer. We'll be back in just a moment on Exiles TV. Thank you, sir. You are free.
Caught spiders. Premier Pest Services.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
Louisiana's #1 Honda dealer welcomes you to our biggest clearance sale of the year, the Happy Honda Days sales event. Get year-end clearance pricing on over 900 new Hondas, plus a complimentary lifetime powertrain warranty with every new Honda. Save thousands on your new Honda right here at Team Honda.
Hi, business owners. Phase 3. Woohoo! But do your customers know you're back? Well, that's where the Clarence Bugg Show and Pelican Broadcasting can help. Right now, we've got great rates on advertising packages to help you get the word out. Shoot me an email at bugsclarence@gmail.com. Or better yet, call me up. I'd love to talk with you. 225-485-6839. Let's get together and make Phase 3 the best it can possibly be.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Back to Exiles TV. I'm Kevin Gallagher along with Bill Profita, and we do thank TFC Taylor Scrantz from State Police for the time spent with us this morning. As Bill said, it was a great idea to bring him back because we've done this so many times on radio.
And we've never had the results.
Yeah, we always talk about how to be safe and what to do when the holiday comes around, but we never get a result, show.
Well, he's a good guest. Since we mentioned it, here is this endangered 11-year-old girl. This is from Madison Parish. The young lady is Emma Carter Ezel. She's 11 years old. She is a white female with brown, blonde hair and blue eyes. She's 5'6", 130.
That's a big girl for 11 years old.
Well, and if you look at her picture, she looks maybe 16 or 17. She doesn't look 11.
Or even older. I think that girl could pass for 20 in that photograph.
But she has been reported missing from her home in Tallulah. So obviously they're actively looking. And if you have any information, if you're in the Madison Parish Sheriff's Office area, call them. If you're not, call Louisiana State Police. Mm-hmm. You can dial star LSP from your cell phone, and they will connect you with your closest state police troop.
Now, we have had a couple of these missing child stories that had happy endings in the recent past.
Yes.
But we have far too many of these missing child stories that do not have happy endings. Kids just don't understand. If they run away from home or they decide to take off for a few days with somebody that their parents don't know, they just don't understand the danger they could be putting themselves in or the potential danger that they're putting themselves into.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping that this may be I did this once when I was like 14. I disappeared. I just got in the car with some buddies and went walkabout.
Really?
And I was gone for 2 full nights, and I never bothered to call and tell them what.
How old were you?
I was like 14. I was stupid. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. And I mean, after I got home and realized what kind of trouble I was in, and it took my dumb ass a little while to figure out why are they so angry at me. But then they explained why they were so angry at me, because when you leave, you don't tell us where you're going, and you're gone for 2 nights. Which for me to be gone overnight was highly unusual, period.
So did you just kind of wander around? Did you stay with a friend? What'd you do?
We drove over to a couple of, I had a friend who was older that could drive. We went a couple of towns over, and we're hanging out with some of his family, and there's drinking beers and stuff like that, stuff you're not supposed to do when you're 14, 15 years of age, and just generally experimenting with what it's like to be a grown-up.
It was you. You were the reason that all the rest of us who couldn't have a driver's license yet, but had friends who did, were forbidden from getting in a car with these people.
Maybe so, but
you did it.
I became keenly aware of why you don't make your parents worry, and I've kind of lived my life ever since then with be responsible, be accountable for your time to whoever it is that you, whether it's mom and dad or whether it's your wife or whatever, be accountable for your time. Mm-hmm. It's important to people that they know, where you're going to be and when to expect you. Girl like this, 11 years old, she disappears for a couple of nights. Her parents must be terrified.
Oh, got to be absolutely scary. Again, because they issue these statewide, because a lot of times, if it's an improper taking of the minor, like from the non-custodial parent, or if it's something far worse, like an abduction. Mm-hmm. That's why they do these statewide. If you even think you've seen this girl dial star LSP, and they will take it from there.
And if you'd like to, get a photograph of the girl, go to WBRZ's website. It has a very clear image of the girl, what she looks like.
Before we go, Nancy Pelosi was reelected Speaker, but just barely.
Wow.
Just barely. She needed 214 votes. She only got 216.
I was hopeful that maybe even the Democrats in Congress had gotten a gutful of Pelosi and just her style of leadership, which isn't very good style of leadership at all, in my opinion. And the fact that it was 7 votes between her and Kevin McCarthy, who's a Republican, and when was the last time that if he would have won that election, that would have been someone in the minority being the House Speaker, which is virtually unheard of.
I don't ever remember that.
It came within 7 votes.
I don't ever
of having a House Speaker in the minority.
I don't ever remember that happening. But the real story here is, as they say, the bloom is off the rose with Speaker Pelosi. And I'm not trying to be unkind, but she should have won this by the majority in her own party in that chamber.
No, dude, the bloom is not just off the rose. The rose has been pressed in the family photo album for the last 30 years and is now dried up and wrinkled.
But you know what that tells me, Kevin? That tells me 2 years from now we have more congressional elections. And no matter which way it goes,
she's probably done for.
She is done.
She may still be in the House, but I think she's done for as House Speaker after another 2 years.
I think so. I mean, that's amazing.
She's just shown remarkably bad judgment and unnecessarily partisan, and
she does.
She's just not a good leader.
She posits things as the speaker that she shouldn't be doing. That it isn't a role for the Speaker of the House.
Exactly.
And that kind of mission creep bothers a lot of people, including me.
She doesn't think of herself as Speaker of the House. She thinks of herself as third in line to be president.
That's it for us today.
God bless.